Zombie divorce. Daniel slammed the bathroom door behind him finally. Quiet. For the first time that morning he was alone. He leaned over the sink and looked at himself in the mirror. There were scratches across his face, a bite mark on his calf, and something missing from the back of his shirt. He sighed. Marriage, he muttered. Daniel shuffled toward the toilet and sat down. Peace, just a few minutes of peace. Then he heard it. Behind him, a small sound, followed by a smell. Daniel froze. No, he whispered. The shower curtain moved. He closed his eyes. Please no. The curtain exploded open. Margaret lunged out of the shower. Daniel jumped up too late. She clamped down on his backside like a starving piranha. Daniel stumbled across the tile floor with his shorts halfway down while Margaret hung on like a determined terrier. He slammed into the door. Margaret, we talked about this, she growled, still biting, still chewing, still technically his wife. Daniel finally shook her loose and scrambled out of the bathroom, half-dressed, bleeding and screaming, what was not included in the marriage vows. Daniel had been married longer than he had been an adult. He was 38. He had been married 20 years. He and Margaret met at 16 in biology class, assigned lab partners. He forgot his notes one day and copied hers. She corrected his spelling. He liked that she was certain about things. She liked that he wasn't loud. By senior year, they were inseparable. By graduation, everyone assumed they were permanent. They married after freshman year of college because it felt practical. They already knew each other. Their parents approved. Neither of them wanted to start over with someone new. At 19, that felt like maturity. At 38, it felt like momentum. On a Tuesday evening in October, Daniel stood in the kitchen while Margaret wiped the counter for the second time. You already cleaned that, he said. I missed a spot. There was no spot. He checked the time. 6:02 p.m. Dinner was at 6. You said you'd be home at 6. She said, it's basically 6. It isn't. She didn't raise her voice. She rarely did. She corrected, adjusted, reframed. She preferred order over emotion. They sat at the small wooden table they had bought when they were 21. One leg was still slightly uneven. They had talked about replacing it for years. How was work? She asked. Fine. What does fine mean? It means nothing unusual happened. She nodded once. The television in the living room played the evening news. Reports about a virus overseas, aggressive behavior, fever, several unexplained assaults. Officials used words like isolated and unlikely to spread. Margaret reached over and muted it. I don't want to hear that while we eat. He didn't argue. After dinner, she washed dishes. He dried them. They moved around each other carefully. Their hands did not touch. Halfway up the stairs, she stopped. You've been quiet lately, she said. I'm always quiet. You didn't used to be. He leaned against the railing. He almost said it then. I don't think this is working. The sentence formed clearly in his head. He imagined her response. Not screaming, not crying, just disappointment. Questions he did not have clean answers for. He swallowed the words. I'm tired, he said. You're always tired. That night they lay in bed facing opposite directions. Around midnight, Margaret began coughing, then passing gas with the steady rhythm of a marching band. Daniel opened one eye. You okay? He asked, pinching his nose under the blanket. It's nothing, she said. Probably a cold. She rolled toward him. Even in the dark he could make out the shape of her face. Margaret had always been beautiful in a way that made people assume she was kind. Clear skin, long dark hair. The kind of woman strangers remembered. She draped an arm across his chest, possessive. Even in sleep, he lay there stiffly while another small trumpet blast escaped from beneath the covers. You might be dying, he said. She nudged him with her forehead. Don't be dramatic. I'm not the one weaponizing the sheets. She coughed again, harder this time. Then she tightened her grip on him, like she was making sure he wasn't going anywhere. He wasn't. By morning she had a fever. By the next evening she bit him. It happened in the hallway outside their bedroom. She stepped closer than usual, grabbed his wrist, and sank her teeth into the soft part below his thumb. Hard, he shouted and shoved her away. She hit the wall, then came back immediately. No apology, no hesitation. He locked himself in the bathroom and stared at the bite. It bled, it hurt. He waited for dizziness. Nothing. Downstairs, something crashed. He found her in the kitchen, tearing open a package of raw chicken with her teeth. Margaret, he said carefully, we need to talk. She turned toward him. Her eyes were unfocused, but locked onto his face. She moved fast. He ran. By the third chase of the evening, Daniel understood two things. 1, she did not get tired. 2, he did. He made it to the garage and slammed the door between them. She hit it from the other side. Once, twice, the metal rattled. He looked around. Tools lined the wall. Hammer, wrench, a baseball bat from a charity game 15 years ago. He grabbed the bat. He opened the door a crack. She forced her way through and knocked him backward. He swung without thinking. The bat hit her shoulder with a solid crack. She didn't slow down. He swung again at her head. He missed. The bat hit the garage door track and flew out of his hands. She lunged. He tripped over a folded camping chair and fell flat on his back. The air left his lungs. She landed on top of him. Her teeth snapped inches from his face. He turned just in time and she bit his ear. He screamed. She pulled back, chewing. Nothing happened. No fever, no weakness. She looked almost irritated. He shoved her off and scrambled sideways, slipping on a bottle of motor oil he had knocked over. His feet slid out from under him again. He crashed into the shelving unit. Paint cans fell. One burst open, white paint spreading across the floor. Margaret crawled through it, hands slapping in the paint, leaving streaks as she advanced. He grabbed the nearest thing, a screwdriver. He thrust forward, it lodged in her collarbone, not deep enough. She barely reacted. He yanked it out and aimed higher. She knocked his arm aside and bit into his forearm again. He punched her with his other hand. It did nothing. They struggled on the floor, sliding through paint and oil. His hand closed around the nail gun on the workbench. He turned and pulled the trigger. Pop, a nail hit her chest. She kept coming. He fired again. The nail caught her cheek and stuck there at an angle. She blinked. He stared at the nail in her face. "You look ridiculous," he said. She tackled him again. They slammed into the garage freezer. He yanked the lid open and shoved her backward with everything he had. She fell in awkwardly, legs folding over the edge. He forced her inside and slammed the lid shut. He sat on it. The freezer thumped beneath him once, twice, harder. He looked around and dragged the cement garden statue Margaret had insisted on buying onto the lid. Then a toolbox. Then a crate of old textbooks. The freezer rocked but held. He slid down to the floor, covered in paint, shaking. Inside, Margaret kept moving. He examined his arms, teeth marks everywhere. No fever, no shaking, no change. He laughed once. "Of course, I'm immune," he said. The freezer lurched violently. One of the textbooks slid off the top. The lid bulged upward. Daniel pushed himself to his feet. From inside the freezer came a heavy, persistent pounding. He looked at the stack holding it closed. He knew it would not last. Upstairs, the television continued playing muted footage of cities in panic. He stared at the freezer. "I should have said something years ago," he muttered. The lid jumped again.